Hi everyone, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel, Naturally Beautiful Girl. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Aether Beauty eyeshadow palette. And I know I've been doing a lot of reviews of new eyeshadow palettes, but there have been so many released in non-toxic, cruelty-free beauty recently, and I love eyeshadow palettes. That really was one of the first makeup products that I ever got into using was eyeshadow, and I just can't get enough of eyeshadow palettes. So I've been going through and testing them all out and reviewing them for you. So today I will also be doing a review of this palette, as well as at the end of this video I will be showing you how to get this eye look using this palette. And also let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like me to do another makeup look using this eyeshadow palette. I really focused on the pink tones in this palette, but there are a lot of other beautiful tones in here. I've been thinking about maybe doing a chatty get ready with me, and I would be open to using this palette again in that type of video. So if you'd like me to do that, let me know. But anyway, let's just jump right in. This palette is beautiful. Let's just take a look at this. This is their Rose Quartz Crystal Gemstone palette, and the colors in this palette are inspired by rose quartz, and you can just see how beautiful the shades are in it. And I really love the configuration of the pans in this palette. It looks like a piece of art, a piece of stained glass, something like that, and it's an unusual layout. I mean, I've seen some conventional beauty brands, I think like Tarte had some layout similar to this, but I've never seen anything like this in the non-toxic, cruelty-free space. And one very notable thing about this palette is it doesn't have a mirror. I am a big lover of palettes having mirrors, but they specifically didn't include a mirror in this palette so that the entire palette could be recyclable. So I do appreciate that perspective, but I don't think that this is a very travel-friendly palette because it's missing a mirror. So this palette cost $58 and doesn't have a mirror, which I think is really steep. I do appreciate their perspective of not having a mirror in terms of this entire packaging being recyclable and being more environmentally friendly, but I feel like if you're going to take that step and not put a mirror in the palette, then the price should reflect that as well, because right now, I've recently reviewed the Honest Beauty palette, which is $20 and has a huge mirror. So I actually was trying this palette out right before I left for New York City, but I actually went ahead and took my PYT Beauty, their No BS eyeshadow palette with me to travel, because I always like traveling with an eyeshadow palette with a large mirror, because you never know what the mirrors are going to be like where you're staying at the hotel, or my husband and I will be trying to get ready and use the bathroom at the same time, and so I like to have another mirror that I can use if he's trying to shower and use the bathroom. This was not a good travel option for me. This palette is vegan and cruelty-free, so it checks both of those boxes. It also contains better ingredients, safer ingredients as well, and I've been using the eyeshadow palette and I haven't had any irritation with my eyes. I ordered this palette from Credo Beauty online, so you can purchase this palette there. This palette contains 12 shades, so you have a good number of shades. For instance, in the Honest Beauty eyeshadow palette, you only get 10, and the PYT Beauty, I believe, also has 10, if I'm remembering properly off the top of my head. So you do get more shadows in this, but the price is significantly steeper than both of those palettes, so it's something to keep in mind. The packaging of this palette is beautiful, so not only are the layout of the pans beautiful, but the palette itself is this beautiful kind of rose quartz ombre packaging, and then it has these kind of geometric lines on it, very reminiscent of a crystal quartz itself. And I do really love the way this palette looks. What are my thoughts on these colors? So I think the colors are very beautiful, but my issue is it's not an everyday palette. So the Honest Beauty palette and also the PYT Beauty palette are colors that you can wear on an everyday basis. These colors you have to actually really like wearing non-neutral colors in order to feel comfortable using this palette. There's not really many neutral shades in it. You can go in a pinky direction, which is where I went today. I've also tried kind of gray smokier directions. You can go that direction. And then these shades here, like these kind of gold shades, look more neutral, but they're actually really glittery, so they're quite intense of an eye look. So what I would say to that is that I can wear this palette now because I've finished teaching for the summer and I've gone back to being just a graduate student. Because I am a student, I have more flexibility in the makeup I can wear. But I probably would not have been able to get much use out of this palette when I was teaching because I was trying to stay very professional, keep my eye looks very neutral. So I've kind of developed a little bit more of a perspective with makeup being more wearable, more everyday because of my teaching experience. And so that's something I would say is if you are someone that loves more fun colors, this could be a really great eyeshadow palette for you. But if you're looking for that everyday neutrals eyeshadow palette, I don't think this is going to cut it for you. I do think that this eyeshadow palette is a bit better than the PYT Beauty in terms of being suitable for more skin tones because you do have a bit of a deeper transition shade right here. And then you also have these kind of deeper gray transition shades as well. And the colors overall, they're much more vibrant, much more intense. So I think they will work for a wider range of skin tones. I mean, I do imagine that if you have a deep skin tone, you might run into some issues with this palette, but I think this can serve more towards medium skin tones, which I felt like the PYT Beauty palette could not. So you do get 4 mattes in this palette, and you get, I'm gonna call these kind of like shimmer shades here. So this one, and this one, and this one. So you get kind of 4 shimmer shades. These 4 right in the middle in the diamond shape are really intense and really glittery. Like they're really cool and really fun shades, and I've never seen anything quite like that in Non-Toxic Beauty. Like they're not metallic, like they're very glittery. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but I do have this shade right here on the outer third of my eyelid, and it was very glittery when I was applying it and when I was looking in the mirror, but I'm not sure if that's picking up on camera. Sometimes things on camera don't look quite as they do in real life. But those definitely have a metallic twist to it, but they're also very glittery and kind of like a chunky glitter way, but in a good chunky glitter way, if that makes sense. But because of that, like I don't see them as being like everyday wearable shades. Yeah, if you're, you know, beauty YouTuber, beauty blogger, sure, they can be everyday wearable shades for you, but like if you are in a professional setting, probably not gonna work so well. Overall, I do like the quality of these shadows. Like I do think they're very well performing. They're pigmented, they blend easily. The matte shades are a bit dusty, but actually all 3 of the palettes I've tried so far have kind of dusty matte shades. I don't mind that. Like I knock off my brush before applying it to my eyes, so I'm not applying too much eyeshadow. Whether dusty shades bother you or not is really a personal preference. I like shadows that I don't have to like dig in and scrape at to get pigment. I like shadows where I dip in and I can get a lot of pigment off on my brush, which often means that they are a bit dustier, but not everyone likes that. So I am giving that disclaimer that they are a bit dusty, but for me, I actually like that because it means that they're softer shadows. And for me, that's easier to work with. Where I typically end up focusing on my colors, just because of my preference for how I like to do eyeshadows, I normally stay in this kind of quadrant over here and then venturing into this shade and this shade here. Like that's kind of on, I like to stay on this half of the palette. I have, obviously before filming this tutorial, I have ventured onto this side, and I think I'll put it this way. I don't look great in gray shadows. I don't know if it's the undertones of my skin, the color of my eyes, because my eyes are kind of a blue-gray color. But when I wear gray shadows, it's just not the best look for me. And I know that, and I typically don't go for gray shadows. And I was testing these grays out and they worked well, they blended well, like they performed beautifully, but I just didn't like them on myself. So I really don't enjoy this side of the palette as much. Although I do think that this dark gray though, as a liner, is a really nice touch. It's a different spin on having a black shadow for like a liner purpose. And I think the dark gray really does work well for that. And maybe it is because my skin tone is so fair that I actually like having that dark gray because it gives that definition, but it's not as harsh as a black. But it's also a different option than just using a dark brown. This palette, unlike the other 2 I've tried, does have a highlight shade. So this kind of white shade here does work very well as an inner corner highlight. It's not a matte white, it is a shimmery white, so I am able to actually highlight my inner corners, which you can see here. So I do like that. I really was missing that in the other 2 palettes, and it's nice to see that in this palette. Though I am missing having a kind of matte cream shade If this palette had that shade, then it would be quite complete for me. And I did apply the shadows for my look today without using any matte cream shade in my crease because I just wanted to stick with shadows in this palette and really show you what they look like instead of reaching for, you know, additional shadows or trying to use it or using a translucent setting powder, which I often use to kind of help blend things out in the crease. So I did find these to blend pretty well, but I always find my blending is just better when I have that matte cream shade down in my crease. So if my eyeshadow blending doesn't look quite as good as it normally does, that is why, because this didn't have a matte cream shade, and that is my trick to getting blended eyeshadows. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch all these shades for you guys so you can see what they look like. Here are all the shades swatched on my arm, and I mean, you can see that they're really pretty, and there are some definitely nice shades that pick up the light and are very metallic, very reflective. But I wouldn't necessarily categorize these as all super wearable shades. I do think they're fun, and I think they're different, and I think they're unique, and I appreciate that part of this palette. It's not just a warm toned palette. This palette's definitely thinking outside the box. And I do have to say these 4 shades in the middle do not swatch nearly as well on my arm as they actually apply on my lid. Those 4 shades are right here on my arm, and they just do not show up on my arm nearly as much as they do on the eyelid. It might also be because I always use an eyeshadow primer, typically either the Silk Natural Stick 'em Eyeshadow Primer or the Alima Pure Eye Primer. Those eye primers both intensify shadows even more, so especially with these like very glittery ones, those really help to amp those up, and also it helps to prevent like glitter fallout, because you will get a little bit of that with these. Even when I was laying them down on my eyes for the eye look I did today and then blending, I could actually see the glitter from this shade here getting up and into my crease. Like I could see the glitter getting kind of everywhere when I was doing some blending. That's just what happens with glitter shadows. So I don't think there's much that can be done to avoid that. Using eyeshadow primers definitely does help, but glitter kind of gets everywhere when you have a glittery eyeshadow. What do I think about this palette? Overall, I like it. I just don't think it's that versatile. I don't think it's an everyday eyeshadow palette. I think it's for someone that really loves makeup, loves playing with fun colors, wants a palette that's beautiful, that performs well, that's vegan, that's cruelty-free, that has safer ingredients, and who's not afraid to wear bolder eyeshadow looks, who's not afraid to have these glittery eyeshadow looks, who's not afraid to wear, you know, an entirely pink eye like I have on today. If you want like a neutrals palette, well, it's not it. It's just not a neutrals palette. I think the price is a bit steep, especially given that it doesn't have a mirror, and there's other eyeshadow palettes that have come out very recently that are, especially, I don't know, I hold this one up to the Honest Beauty because I really like the Honest Beauty eyeshadow palette, and that one's $20, and this one's nearly $60, so it's nearly 3 times the price of the Honest Beauty. I think you're paying for the design, you're paying for the beautiful packaging, you're paying for the unique curation of shades, you're paying for the fact that it's a new brand, it's kind of a startup, this is their first product that they've launched. They're looking to launch more, but so far this is their one and only product. So I think that is what you're paying for in the price. And you just have to consider if that is something that you find worth paying for. And my main thing is if you're contemplating getting this palette, just ask yourself first if these are shades that you're going to wear. That's really the big thing with this palette, because it performs beautifully, the shades are beautiful, it's just not a neutral palette. When you are paying for this palette, you are investing in it, and you want to make sure you're investing in something that you are actually going to use and get a lot of use out of. Now I'm going to jump ahead and show you how I got the makeup look that I was wearing for this video. To start off this look, I'm going to be applying the shade Heartstone to my eyelid, and I'm going to be applying it to the inner 2/3 of my eyelid using my finger. And Heartstone is a pink shimmery shade. Next, I'm going to be taking the shade Aura and applying that to the outer third of my eye using my finger. It's a more intense pink kind of berry shade, and it's quite glittery. To build up some color in my crease, I'm going to be applying the matte brown tan shade in Sandstone, and I'm just going to be blending this out all throughout my crease. To deepen up my crease, I'm going to be applying the shade Scorpio, which is a deeper matte brown shade with a bit more kind of a reddish purple tone to it, and I'm just going to be applying this to the outer corner of my crease. I'm going to apply the shade Stardust to my inner corner as my inner corner highlight. To finish off this look, I'm going to dip back into Scorpio and use Scorpio to line my lower lash line and just add definition. I hope you found this video useful and entertaining. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also be sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified of when I post new videos. Be sure to check out my Instagram. I'll have my handle down below. I'm at naturallybeautifulgirl. I'm going to be posting a picture of the swatches of this palette on my Instagram, so be sure to follow me there so you can see a picture of the swatches. And also let me know what you think about this palette. Like, what do you think about the colors? What do you think about the price? Obviously the packaging is beautiful, but just let me know what your thoughts are. If it's something you're thinking about purchasing or if you're gonna pass on it, let me know all that in the comment section down below. And once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!